Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Pereira. The Supreme Court today ordered that a floor test be held on Thursday morning in the Goa Assembly, refusing to stay the swearing-in ceremony of Manohar Parrikar. Miffed at the BJP moving ahead and claiming to have the required numbers to form a government despite not having the mandate of the people, the Congress party has finally woken up and decided to take matters head-on. The Congress Legislature Party met the governor at 1:30 p.m. after she refused to meet them this morning, urging that the swearing-in ceremony be postponed. Meanwhile, competing claims by BJP and Congress have pushed government formation in Manipur towards a tense climax in which the governor and small regional parties will hold the key. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will debate the constitutional and political practices in government formation. Joining me on the program today are Balmiki Prasad Singh, former governor of Sikkim; Sanjay Hegde, senior advocate of the Supreme Court; Vinod Sharma, political editor of the Hindustan Times; Yogendra Narain, constitutional expert and former Secretary General of the Rajya Sabha. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me on the program. Mr. Narain, I'd like to start with you, of course. What are the practices usually associated with something like this in a situation where you have hung assemblies like in the case of Manipur and Goa? What is the practice that is followed?
The best guide is the recommendations of the Sarkaria Commission, which are very clear in their recommendations. Sarkaria Commission has repeatedly said in many chapters that where there is no clear-cut single party majority, the governor's role is to identify the party or political parties who have combined together, who have the widest support in the legislature. Now, the practice has been that the governor can either call the political parties, or the political parties on their own can meet the governor and tell him that these are the political parties or groups which are supporting us. We don't have a majority, but these are the parties which are supporting us, and together with them we have a majority in the legislature. It has happened in the past. And I remember the case of Uttar Pradesh, for instance, in 1993, when there was this election in UP, and the BJP, though it was the single largest party, it could not cobble up a majority. At that time, Mulayam Singh came with support of the various groups, disparate groups, not a pre-electoral alliance, but a post-electoral support. And on that basis, the governor, Mr. Motilal Vora, came to the conclusion that...
So are you saying then it's not the single largest party, but the party that is able to cobble up all these alliances at the last minute, and, you know, someone who's in the best position to form the government is the one who's invited by the government?
Which has the widest support of the legislature. That is the wording in the Sarkaria Commission.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Sanjay Hegde, what does the law state? The courts, of course, have dealt with several such issues in the past. Is there any precedent to follow?
Well, there are all kinds of precedents. It all depends on the context of the situation. You see, there was the precedent of President Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy not giving a chance to Jagjeevan Ram after Charan Singh failed to prove his majority on the floor of the House. That is one precedent. There is also the precedent of President Shankar Dayal Sharma inviting Atal Bihari Vajpayee as the leader of the largest party to form the government, despite it being reasonably obvious that he may not have majority support. And that government lasted 13 days. So the real question is of the governor or the president seemingly acting fairly. Everybody should be given a hearing. Thereafter, based on reasonably objective material, if the governor or the president takes makes a call as to who is likely to command the widest possible support, then such a decision is normally immune not only from judicial review but from public criticism as well. Here again, it's like almost like that maxim for the courts, that justice must not only be done but be seen to be done. The seen to be done part of it, the fairness part of it, that is where things often come into question.
Indeed, indeed. That's a very valid point that you're raising, you know, the role of the governor as well. Mr. Singh, as a former governor yourself, how important is the role of a governor in a situation like we're seeing in Manipur and Goa?
You see, under Article 164 of the Constitution, it is the task of the governor, it is the power of the governor to appoint the chief minister. And it is also his duty. And as soon as the election results are announced, the chief minister by tradition, and he should, even under law, goes and submits his resignation. And as per well-established convention, the governor hands over to him a letter that your resignation is accepted and you continue till alternative arrangements are made. And it is there, the moment alternative arrangement clause has been used and communicated to the sitting chief minister, it is there that the political parties can come to him. If there is a hung assembly, as it is the case of both Goa and Manipur, here what happened, that the party having the largest number but not majority didn't have a leader. Normally the leader goes with his followers. But the party which was the second largest not only elected a new leader, but also had cobbled up his, may not be an appropriate word, there was a...
Stitched together is a better word.
No, I don't say that either. He had the, must say, circumstances he created. Maybe he invoked his personality, the leader.
Sure.
And then people joined him, joined his group that yes, if you are going to be the chief minister, we will support BJP. So this is something has happened. I am very happy with one development, that the defense minister of India did not go into claim. He resigned, and it was only after that that he went, and that was very nice. I thought
sure.
That was a good gesture. Now, the Congress party was naturally aggrieved and went to the court. The Supreme Court of India has already given a direction, and the Supreme Court of India has wisely said that instead of giving 15 days time, you hold it on 16th, that is after 2 days. Now, even the governor, when she gave 15 days, it doesn't mean that he has to go convene the assembly after 15 days. He could have convened on 16th on his own. But then there is not much time left for what is called horse trading.
Indeed.
And in my view, horse trading is naturally comes under the purview of the Corruption Act, Prevention of Corruption Act. Now the situation in Manipur is far more complicated, far more difficult, because both the parties have claimed.
Indeed, indeed.
And in the list of the Congress party, the single largest party, they have the MLAs of the National People's Party. And these 4 MLAs also find place in the list of the BJP. If these 4 persons join the Congress, then 28 plus 4, it gets a clear majority. So the governor has to weigh the evidence before her. And if she is convinced that the largest party has 32 or 31, or the second largest party has 31 or 32, she can decide.
Indeed, fair enough. I think that clears the doubt as far as the governor's role is concerned. But Mr. Sharma, the Congress seems to have gone to sleep after the results on Saturday. Did not try to cobble up an alliance or do something in Goa, and now suddenly they've gone to the Supreme Court for some kind of relief. I mean, whereas the BJP we saw getting to work immediately and trying to stitch up these alliances and get something done.
Yes, of course, BJP had an advantage of being in power at the center. And in smaller states, there is a tendency to go along with the party that is holding the power at the center. This we have seen time and again in smaller states, even in states like Jammu and Kashmir and Jharkhand and elsewhere. See, in my view, of course, the Constitution is the principal document on which you have to base also the case laws emanating from Supreme Court judgments, and also governor's discretion. It is the governor's responsibility to ensure that whoever is invited to form the government is able to give a stable government to the state. So all these factors combined. But then let us leave these aside for a minute. And I feel that at the level of propriety, BJP has slipped in Goa. It has actually lost the election. And the Congress has lost the election in Manipur. They have slipped in Manipur. So if you were to apply the principle of propriety, then the government, a Congress government in Manipur shall fly in the face of the popular mandate, and a BJP government in Goa shall fly in the face of the popular mandate. Because BJP is behind Congress by no more than a couple of seats. So we can go on debating and arguing. Yes, of course, the Congress case in Goa was weak because, as has been pointed out, that there wasn't a formal claim made to the governor, that there weren't any numbers mentioned in the petition to the Supreme Court, as has been pointed out by the Honorable Supreme Court in its order. But the Supreme Court has shortened the tenure, the time gap, which is available to Mr. Parikar, Manohar Parikar. Because you see, mind you, why I say that the question of propriety applies, you don't just have to be fair, you also appear to have to be fair. That the BJP campaign in Goa was built around the personality of Mr. Manohar Parikar. And he was asked questions that, you know, would you leave the ministership at the center and go back as chief minister there? So, at the popular level, he may be acceptable to parties that have legislative presence besides Congress and BJP in the House, and these parties weren't in an alliance with the BJP before elections.
Sure.
Similarly, the parties that are now backing the BJP in the Congress, some of them were in alliance with the BJP in Manipur before the elections. So it's a difficult call for the governors, and it is a bit of a sorry spectacle of democracy that we are seeing. I think that if there was no hope of the Congress mopping up numbers in Goa, they should have been invited first as the single largest party. There was no harm in that. And they should have been given maybe 2 days or 3 days to prove their majority. And as per the Supreme Court judgment in the Balmiki case, it would have been decided on the floor of the House as to whether or not they have the numbers. But in these days, after the kind of competitive politics that we see today in our country, these kind of niceties, democratic niceties, are not to be seen anymore. And all parties, none of them is really covering itself with glory insofar as showing respect to popular mandate is concerned.
Sure enough, fair enough. You know, Mr. Narain, Mr. Sharma mentioned sorry spectacle of democracy, and Mr. Singh also said, you know, there could be horse trading. But then do you believe that there is going to be horse trading, or do we have strict anti-defection laws right now that will not allow it?
You see, with the Supreme Court directing that the vote of confidence should be held within 2 days, that is on the 16th, there is not much scope for horse trading. And the point to be seen here is that the BJP has come out with a list and a support letter from these respective parties which have now joined the BJP to give it a majority. So the governor was faced with two choices. One, which is a party which has the single largest number of MLAs, and the other is a party which had the second highest, but they have got enough and they have been able to muster enough support from the various groups and independents to make a majority and present it to the governor. Now, if the Congress party wants to contest that they still do not have a majority, they could have laid their claim before the governor, like they have done in Manipur. But here they have not laid any such claim, and neither have they submitted the list of names or showing that they have majority support before the Supreme Court. So prima facie it appears that the governor has taken the most appropriate action as provided in the Constitution.
Indeed, fair enough. Mr. Hegde, you know, as far as the Congress party is concerned, we've seen the Congress party knock on the door of the Supreme Court with regards to Goa. Is it going to apply the same kind of tactic as far as Manipur is concerned? What are its options really?
No, Manipur, the situation has not yet come in where there is a invite as yet. So that would be premature to go to any court, much less the Supreme Court. As far as Goa is concerned, I don't know what they exactly thought would happen, but the scope of judicial review in such matters is also very limited. Unless the governor acts manifestly unfairly, say supposing he invites the sole independent to become the chief minister or something like that, unless there's an outrageous defiance of logic, I don't see any court stepping into what after all has to be resolved on the floor of the House. In our system of checks and balances, there's also a system where each organ of state maintains a constitutional respect for the other. So the Congress did go to court, maybe it just wanted to play some momentum game or was hoping for some kind of court order which would give them a breather. But the court has basically set a timeline under which the majority has to be determined on the floor of the House. I disagree with people who say that this prevents horse trading. Whatever horses were to have been traded will have already been traded on the first day itself, once the results come out. Often I think the system rewards the faster horse trader and the one with the better resources, to put it mildly. But this is a problem with all small assemblies, because a party of three can very easily split if two of them walk away. Goa has thrown this constitutional gymnastics all over the Supreme Court, right from Ravi Naik's case and several other cases.
So
I don't see anything wrong.
So doesn't the anti-defection law come into play then?
No, the anti-defection law can come into play with big assemblies and big parties. But if you have a party of three people, like the Goa Forward Party, which campaigned right through against the BJP and now has gone and joined it, but that's the three MLAs who have joined it, the rest of the party says, no, this is wrong. Nothing can really be done, because if two MLAs also walk out of that party, then the anti-defection law cannot apply, because there's a 2/3 split in the legislature party.
Sure.
So these are problems of small assemblies which are peculiar, especially to the states which are small and are on the periphery of the Indian landmass.
Indeed, fair enough. Mr. Singh, you know, what are the signs that the governor really looks for when a situation like this arises?
You must appreciate the governor is a lonely person in a large house.
Not exactly.
And whosoever comes to him, whosoever gives an advice, is not always an impartial one.
How much of what the centre is thinking really plays on the governor's mind?
I'm coming to that. The governor, whosoever talks to him or her, has an agenda. And sometimes it becomes very difficult for the governor to even rely upon his or her secretary, because the allegiance of the secretary to the governor is to the state government, because he belongs to that cadre. So, in that lonely circumstance, there are only three things which can help you. First is your own conscience. Second is the Constitution of India. And the third is that you must weigh the different advices which flow into your, through letters, through social media, through telephone calls, through the center, through the state leaders. Now, a governor who has taken the oath and who wants to be true to his or her oath to the Constitution, to preserve and protect the Constitution, I think A stage has to come in one's life when he or she, if she feels or he feels that some pressure is put on him or her, she should be prepared to say, quit.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Mr. Sharma, after a long time, we're going to see, some of the smaller parties play kingmaker this time around, and, they're going to demand their pound of flesh at the end of the day as well. And, it reminds me of Shakespeare now.
We may say one thing that, the smaller states were created in this country on the plea that they can be better administered. But the irony is that they can't be. They haven't been better administered. Look at Jharkhand, look at Goa, look at any other smaller state in the northeast. It was, don't forget, it was in Goa that a unique experiment was carried out by a political party drawing the name of that operation after its election symbol, to make members of the House submit resignations to bring down the effective strength of the House to keep the government going. So may I say that, when you have smaller parties who have a very minimal legislative presence in the House, but their share in power is disproportionate to their presence in the House, it should be construed as an incidence of graft or patronage or a quid pro quo. And whether a government that is, and there have been n number of instances involving all political parties, that whether a government of that nature, the governor should also reflect on that whether a government which in its very composition is vitiated, can it deliver good governance? Can it be as per the aspirations of the people? For instance, MGP got 3 seats and the other parties, other Goa Forward got 3 seats. Now one of them is going to be Deputy Chief Minister. One of them, I think MGP fellow will be Deputy Chief Minister. And they'd have ministers, all of them would be ministers, and independents will be also ministers. And the people of the larger party would not have that opportunity available to them. So, I mean, if we are really talking about, cleaning up our political system of this kind of patronage and this kind of corruption, then I think that this is another form of horse trading and should be addressed by the Supreme Court at some level, at some opportunity, that it gets an opportunity to comment or give a direction on these issues. If these people want to support a government, they must do it without asking for any favors.
Sure.
They would remain members of the legislature. They should do it without asking for any favors. If their purpose is altruism.
I think we are a long way away from that.
If they are really wanting to give the state a chief minister who they think is the best, though he lost in the election because it was all around his persona that they...
That's a very ideal situation.
No, I know it's a utopian dream.
Yes.
But then, unless your fundamental objective is the maximalist objective, you won't be able to achieve even 80% of that.
Indeed, indeed, fair enough. And that's a very valid point that you're raising. Let's hope that we head in that direction and we see that reality sometime soon. But Mr. Narain, in an eventuality where Manohar Parrikar cannot prove his majority on the floor of the House in a couple of days' time on March 16th, what does the governor do then? Does it invite the Congress to prove a majority, or what happens?
Yes, the next logical step would be, if Mr. Parrikar does not have his vote of confidence in his favor, the next step for the governor would be to invite the Congress and ask them to prove a majority and whether they want to form a government at all. Because it's not necessary that every single largest party would like to form a government if they are unable to cobble up the majority. Because there is no use being appointed as a chief minister and then within 7 days again declining. Then if they are unable to do so, or if they refuse to form the government, then the next alternative would be a president's rule. That is under the constitution, under Article 356, you have the president's rule, because if the machinery of the government cannot be carried on according to the constitutional provisions, have a president's rule. So these are the only options open.
Sure, fair enough. And Sanjay Hegde, what are the options for the Congress as far as from a legal point of view? And can the court do anything more, or is there only that much that the court can do as far as intervention in such matters is concerned?
Well, as a purist, I'm not even sure that the intervention that the court has done so far is actually called for. The point is that political battles have to be fought through the ballot box and in the legislatures. You can't have the judiciary looking over every aspect of political life as well. The judiciary has been dragged in primarily because of the anti-defection laws, where there was a limited breach made within the integrity of the legislature, because any decision for the speaker under the Anti-Defection Act then came under the purview of judicial review. It is time for politicians to decide among themselves also that they will sort their case, their fights in the legislature alone and not resort to the courts.
Fair enough. Mr. Singh, I've got time for two quick comments from both my guests now. So your concluding remarks on the program.
I must say that my worry is that horse trading is not one-time affair. If the institutionalization of horse trading takes place, then political instability comes in. My second comment is that, look, Goa has per capita income is the second highest after Delhi and above Sikkim and below Delhi. Manipur, which has the potential to be near Sikkim as number 4, has a very low per capita income, but it has the potential, hydroelectric and a series of other things. But more important than that is that India is a landlocked country. It has the sea option, but Manipur provides the only land route to Burma and to Southeast Asia and beyond. We have to have a stable and government in Manipur which thinks of Manipuri personality, Manipur's role in national reconstruction, and we must think of, there is no doubt the political convergence should take place in these situations, and both the major political parties should think above economic blockade, hill plains, all that must be resolved amicably, and that requires greater foresight and leadership.
Indeed. Mr. Sharma, your concluding remark, close the show for us with it.
Well, I don't know. I'm a bit of a pessimist in these matters, I just mentioned about the utopian, I have utopian dreams, I think there is nothing like part honesty, there is nothing like part propriety, there is nothing like, part fair play. It has to be in absolute terms. And I think that the government anywhere in the country, if a political party that has been in power slips in numbers, should give up the first call. It should allow the other party to take the first call and prove its numbers. And if it can't prove its numbers, then it can always have the second chance, second shot at power.
Sure.
That's how it should be.
Indeed. All right. On that note, we'll have to call it a wrap in this edition of The Big Picture. Balmiki, Prasad, Singh, Sanjay, Hegde, Vinod, Sharma and Yogendra, Narain. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. That's all the time we have. See you again next time.